Imagine for a second you are going on a journey that's taking place while you're on a bus. Now, everywhere around you are just beautiful landscapes, from beautiful mountains to beautiful beaches to the most extraordinary sceneries you can think of. This journey has so many things to offer, but because you've chosen to drive the bus, you cannot experience any of its magnificence because you are too stressed, too anxious, too nervous, too focused, and too busy driving the bus. This journey is the only one you will ever get in your lifetime, and the only thing you wanted out of it was to be in control. Every single other passenger in the bus is enjoying it to the maximum. Everyone is amazed by its beauty and they are all having a great time except you. If you were to allow yourself to be a passenger too, if you were to let go of trying to control every little aspect, you would have been able to experience joy, pleasure, and fun same as all other participants. The whole purpose of a journey is to be relaxed, to enjoy, to admire, to lay back, and to let yourself sink into the beauty of creation. I hope you can already see the similarities between the journey and your life here on Earth. You were given the most unique gift that we know about, the gift of life, and instead of making the best out of this short journey, all you're trying to do is control every little situation, to manipulate, to lie, to influence, to judge, to hate, to worry, and to be anxious about the future. Instead of following your passions, instead of creating, instead of spreading awareness, love, and genuinely pursuing your interests, instead of exploring and tapping into the higher frequencies of living, you are letting your ego ruin the most extraordinary experience by letting him be in charge of your life. Your ego doesn't want to let you experience any of the higher frequencies because that threatens its survival. And this is what we are going to review today. We haven't really discussed much about the nature of the ego in the past on this channel, so I want this video to be an introduction to more advanced videos that will come in the future. Thus, in this video, we will tackle the main issues with the ego, how this entity runs your life, and why its job is to keep yourself stuck at the most basic and lower vibrations of living. Think of the ego as your entire identity. It's whoever you identify yourself as being. For example, you might identify yourself as an animal lover, car enthusiast. You might like certain foods, certain colors, smells, have certain passions, or prefer certain dress codes. That's all part of your ego. It's who you are in a sense because that is part of your identity. It's who you identify yourself as being and how you'd present yourself in front of others. Make sense? Good. Now for the next part of the conversation, I want you to pay a bit more attention because what I am about to say will radically transform the way you see yourself for the rest of your life. So while everything mentioned above is all surface stuff that can easily be changed about yourself, the deeper aspects of your identity remain hidden in the dark. The main job of the ego is to keep itself alive, thus everything you do must serve this purpose. Everything you do has to do with avoiding looking inwards because that will demask the illusory nature of who you truly are. The ego had to create a whole story to trick you into believing you are it. A story that runs like this. You identify yourself as having a certain skin tone, eye color, being tall or short, an English speaker, a human being, but most importantly, you have been tricked into believing that you are a separate entity from everything else out there. You have been told you are a finite being that has a beginning and must have an end. This is the story you've been told, and this is the story that makes you human. These are the most fundamental things deeply inherited into your identity. Traits and characteristics without your existence wouldn't have been possible. This is what makes you think and feel you are alive. This is what makes you who you are. It's basically your entire reality, and without those traits and characteristics, you wouldn't be alive. Or would you? You see, you have probably heard before of ego death, or the transcendence of your ego, and this is basically what everything boils down to. Your whole identity is built upon protecting the ego. Your whole life is all about making sure you, or better said, your ego, stays alive. Controlling, manipulating, lying, gossiping, judging, partying, worrying, criticizing. These are all defense mechanisms of the ego. And at the same time, there are some of the most basic and lower vibrations of life. This is how the ego defends itself and how it manages to survive. And this is why it doesn't want to let you experience any of the higher frequencies such as love, gratitude, joy, creation, and passion, as these frequencies will demask its game. Keeping yourself busy all the time, nervous, anxious, irritated, unfulfilled, jealous, and hateful is what makes you focus on the outer world. making ego's survival easier. This is so crucial to understand. So crucial that every single spiritual tradition that has ever existed pointed towards this fundamental truth. Many would call it a spiritual awakening, enlightenment, or ego death, and they all refer to the exact same idea of self-transcendence. Realizing that you are not your body, that you are not a finite thing, but rather that you are the entire universe means the death of your ego, the death of your identity. Thus, this is why it will always distract you from looking inwards. It does that because it wants to stay alive at all costs. So, this in a nutshell is how the ego works, how it dictates your life, and why it keeps you stuck at lower frequencies. The purpose of this video is to lay a foundation for more advanced videos that will come in the future, so make sure you won't miss any of those by subscribing to this channel if you haven't already done so. The things we are discussing here are some of the most advanced, mentally challenging topics humanity has ever known. What we're trying to do here is to understand the very nature of existence by deconstructing the mind, ultimately reaching a higher level of consciousness. Please click that like button if you find value in this content, and don't forget to share this video with a friend who might benefit from watching it. My vision is to create a community where people can benefit greatly by helping and sharing valuable advice to each other. So come join me on the forum where we can discuss more life-changing ideas. You can now support this channel on Patreon, this way helping me release more qualitative content in the future. Every single donation I get will buy me more time to do the necessary research so I can release more advanced videos in the future. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you on the next episode.